So stop me if this sounds familiar. So you're on LinkedIn and it is the same tips, the same infographics, the same commentary, 50,000 people all saying the same thing, right? When was the last time you actually like stopped the scroll and said, whoa, finally somebody called out that BS. I am so glad they said that. I bet it's been a while, right? You could actually be that person. You could break through the noise because those kind of posts, they get tons of comments, tons of engagement, and they actually help your potential clients stop and notice. But you have to be brave enough to share those opinions, to share those hot takes. So stick around for the next 10 minutes and let me show you exactly how to make that work for you. I've been helping clients figure out what makes them remarkably different for over 20 years. And I can tell you that the biggest difference between consultants who have a strong pipeline and those who don't is that they're out there saying what they really think. I'm Laura Zavelson, and this is the GenXpert Show, where we talk about how you can use content and AI to become the go-to person in your niche. Now, just a little aside, if you're watching us on YouTube, you might have noticed that there's a little glow up going on in the studio here, right? I'll take you on the full tour when I'm all done. But in the meantime, give me a comment. Let me know if you like it. And let me know what else you think it needs, because decorating, definitely not my zone of genius. Okay, so back to hot takes. This is a little counterintuitive, but being agreeable is actually killing your business. As women, and especially a lot of us have come from corporate, right? That's where we got all our experience. And I'm even going to include my time in academia with this, right? I remember being told during the same review cycle that I was too outspoken and I wasn't speaking up enough. It is amazing that more of us don't have multiple personality disorders, right? Given the gap between who we really are and the person they want us to be inside corporate or academic institutions. In fact, this morning, I was just reading a new study that said women, especially like Gen Z women at work, are feeding their email responses and like their Slack responses back into ChatGPT to sort of get a feel about the tone and how it's likely to be received. I can't believe that we as women have to do that. And yet I have yet to meet a woman that's been in business more than 20 years, and I'm sure it's much less than that, who has not been given this kind of feedback at work. But now that you're out on your own, I am giving you permission right here, right now, to say it all exactly how you want to say it. It's actually one of the seldom mentioned benefits of going out on your own and being a consultant. So while you're an employee, they really want you to blend in. But as a consultant, you're actually invited to give your opinion. That's why they're hiring you. So your potential clients, they are drowning in bland beige commentary. They all sound exactly the same. So you take this opportunity and you tell them what they need to hear. Look, I want to show you something. In about 30 seconds, I just generated 3 takes that would make any consultant stand out, right? And I'm going to show you exactly how this works in a few minutes. But first, let me just share one of my hot takes with you so you have a good idea of what we're talking about, okay? So here's something that I say. I say this on podcasts or whatever. I say, way too many people are wasting money on marketing when actually that's not their problem. What they have is a product problem or a business model problem. And if you're not solving a poison ivy level problem for your clients, or you're not charging enough to be profitable, there's no way in the world marketing can fix that. I don't care how many podcasts you go on. Okay, so a hot take doesn't have to be negative. It can just be telling people how you see the world differently. So give me one of your hot takes. Drop it in the comments and let's figure out how you can use it to start attracting clients, okay? In the meantime, let me tell you how I got my picture inside Seth Godin's book, Tribes, okay? My picture is way down here at the bottom. So it turns out that as a launch for this book, and if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. Seth Godin is one of the OGs of personal branding and how to stand out from the crowd. And this book is, oh, wow, it's probably 15 years old now, but it is still as relevant today as when it was written, maybe even more. So, as a part of the launch for the book, he invited people to contribute to like a public blog. I actually got featured with a piece about how boat owners form instant tribes because complete strangers will help you dock your boat because they understand it's a struggle, right? It's a shared experience and everybody knows it's a hard thing to do. And so that shared understanding creates a connection. So that's exactly what happens when you share your opinions in a public forum, like on LinkedIn or on your blog or your podcast, right? Because you're not just getting attention. I'm not just not talking about clickbait, right? You're building a tribe of people who think like you do. And so something to think about is what kind of a community do you want to build around your work? And then start talking about the things that are going to draw those people in. So let me share a way that I could have used this idea if I had learned it earlier. So before I read Seth's book, right? So back when I had my brand agency, I built the whole thing around this idea that your brand is not your logo. But I didn't really go around shouting that from the rooftops. So I wasted a lot of time with potential clients trying to educate them about where I stood on that concept. And honestly, it really dragged out my sales cycle. If I had been broadly sharing this opinion or this way of thinking, I would have filtered out the people who just wanted, that the logo widget, right? And second, I would have really compressed my sales cycle because the people who came in would have already been believers, right? I wouldn't have had to spend all the time educating them on this is the way I do business. And if you want to work with me, like this is the path we're going to follow. So hopefully I've got you at least a little interested in hot takes now. So let's just talk for a minute about why they work. First of all, pattern interruption, right? When everyone else zigs, you zag. Hat tip to Marty Neumeyer for that one. He's another OG in the branding space. So what we know, and this is actually science, is our brains are wired to notice what's different. So if everybody's going this way and you suddenly go that way, people are going to notice, okay? Pattern interruption. The second one is that hot takes actually build trust because you show that you're a real person with real opinions. So, not just textbook knowledge. It gives you a been there, done that vibe, which I think can be really powerful for consultants. The third reason they work is they help filter in the right kind of clients and filter out the wrong kind of clients, right? The right people self select, the wrong ones say, oh, I don't really want to work with her anyway. And then finally, I think when you're like, waving your banner for something, people become advocates with you, not just followers. And then they will recommend you to others who share the same opinions. And that's actually how your influence and your credibility grows. So that's how hot takes are powerful. But they don't just work in isolation. You can't just be like, ooh, opinion, 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 right? But when combined with a broader content strategy, they can become serious client getters, right? So let me just show you for a second where hot takes fit into the client engine strategy and specifically the point of view framework. So this is the point of view framework, and it's what I use to help consultants create content that actually attracts clients. So your point of view or your POV has three components. Your frameworks or your methodology, that's your approach to solving problems. Your experience, this is the stories you tell that prove that you know what you're talking about. And then finally your opinions, and this is where your hot takes live, right? It's really what helps you put the final piece to the puzzle in with what makes you different. So they're not just random controversial statements. They're one piece of a bigger puzzle. And when you combine them with your frameworks and your personal experience, that's when you create content that makes you remarkably different. So here's what I mean. We're in a trust recession. You've heard me say that before, right? So when you take a clear position, especially one that stands out from the pack, you're showing them, you're proving to them how you actually think and work. And that can go a really long way towards bridging some of that trust gap, especially online. But here's the key. It can't just be all hot takes, right? You need to back them up with the methodology piece and the stories piece, because that's what makes people believe you and want to work with you. So drop me a quick comment. Which piece of this framework resonates with you the most? Which one are you the most excited to try? So at the top of the episode, I promised you I'd tell you about hot takes, but I also told you that I would show you how to create your own. So here's the roadmap. First of all, you've got to look at what everyone else is saying, right? You've got to see what the mainstream positions are in your niche. And then I want you to find where you think the BS is, right? Where are you different? And you don't always have to disagree, right? You can agree and add your own twist to it, or you can even show how a position supports another part of your framework. So again, it's not about hooks or clickbait or being outrageous just to get attention. Like that's social media hacks, right? We're trying to build trust and credibility here. What we want to show is how we're different. So earlier, I showed you a quick glimpse of my hot take brand booster tool. Now let me walk you through exactly how you can use this to generate content that gets you noticed. The link is in the description and this is completely free. So you start by typing in a topic, anything in your niche that you think is interesting. So just to keep it simple, I'm just going to put in marketing and AI. There's lots of news on AI right now. So what the tool does is it goes out to the web and it finds some recent hot topics in the area. So the ideas it's giving us is agentic AI is transforming marketing ops, search content algorithms are push deeper expertise, consulting firms and big agencies are doubling down on AI, even building in-house arms. So you'll see that for each trend that it mentions, it also kind of gives you the default take about what the news stories are saying and then why it's important to your niche. So for me, I think let's just pick two about search engine content starting to move away from AI generated content. Okay. So the next thing the tool asks you is, do you disagree with this? Do you agree, but you want to add your own twist? Or do you want to use it to reinforce your position? So in this case, I'm going to want to use it to reinforce my position. And so then what it's going to do is ask me if I have a story, because I really think leaning into storytelling can be useful when you're giving these kinds of opinions. Today, I'm going to just say no because just for the interest in time for the demo. But this would be a part where you could insert just an everyday story that reflected your position. So what you can see is that the tool then generates 3 posts that have to do with the topic and my opinion on it. And then I can go ahead and tweak those, fix any nuances that the tool didn't get right, and then drop those into my scheduling software one a week. And bam, I've got 3 hot takes for the next 3 weeks on LinkedIn. So do you see how this can give you multiple angles and how you can work this into your content strategy? So what I would recommend is running this tool, just say once a month, create 4 posts and just go ahead and pre-schedule them on LinkedIn. And so you know that at least once a week, you're showing up with a post that, has the potential to break through the noise and really generate some engagement. Let me give you a real example that's actually happening right now. So, one of my clients is about to launch a book on how the job of being a senior software engineer is fundamentally changing with AI. So, his point of view is that the primary purpose of software engineers at a senior level will not be writing code anymore. It's going to be more like being an orchestrator or a navigator and working in partnership with AI to build things. So, that's not what everybody else is saying, right? And some people are going to disagree. But by putting this stake in the ground, it's going to start conversations and it positions him as this expert who can see around corners. And that's what I want to do for you. Look, here's how I see it. I think your expertise can get you in a room, but I think it's your opinions that are going to get you hired. Your biggest risk here is not being wrong. Your biggest risk is being so bland that nobody discovers you, nobody remembers you. When you're brave enough to share what you really think, you're going to attract clients that are already pre sold on your approach. So you're going to spend less time selling and more time solving their problems and getting them great results. So I have a mission for you this week, should you choose to accept it. All right. Pick one thing in your industry that you either think is boring or you think doesn't tell the whole story or that you flat out think is BS. Okay. Write a post about why it's wrong or misguided and what you do instead. All right. And then I want you to share it. And if you want help, just grab that hot take brand booster tool, completely free, link in the comments. It's what I just showed you. It's going to help you find trending topics in your niche and then create posts that showcase your opinions. And it does it like that. So if you're tired of one off marketing tactics and you want to implement a real strategy that will help make you be the go to in your niche and bring in consistent clients, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We got a new episode for you every Thursday. That's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.